Cool. Hey everyone, and welcome to DPC Learning's live stream. This week, we're going to give you 5 weekly activities to market your direct care practice. And we've got 2 very special guests here today. But before I introduce them, I want to encourage you, we're here for you to answer your questions. So if you've got anything related to marketing and how you're doing it for your practice, please go ahead and drop those in the chat so that we can be interacting with you along the way and answering your questions. And so I have the pleasure today of having Leah Schoenfeld, who's a partner and co-owner of Mountains Wave Marketing. They really focus on purpose-driven marketing, where they're telling stories to grow businesses. And then I have Andrew Newland of direct primary care marketing and functional medicine marketing. And really, he works with practices to design marketing strategies that are fit and tailored to your budget. I'm so excited to have these folks here with you today because we're going to talk about 5 weekly activities to market your direct care practice every single day of your working week. Now, before we dive into those tactics, I want to ask you guys a little bit about how our audience should be thinking about who they're actually talking to, right? So what segments do you guys wrap your head around when you're thinking about the strategies that you're putting into place for these practices?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We got to know who we're trying to reach so that we know what's the best tactic to do that. So we really see kind of 4 basic categories of people. And I really think these are priority levels. So that first priority level are going to be people that they're already patients, right? One, you want to have a great, connection and great culture for them. You want to be asking for reviews, whether it's on Google review or the social platforms, Yelp, all of those things. And then just consistently asking for, referrals, because in the end, word of mouth referral is always the best. So that's kind of category 1. Category 2 would be spending time in the community. This doesn't mean you're necessarily live in person because there's online things that you can do, but it's getting a chance to talk to people, building those relationships, whether it's a networking group, online Facebook groups, all of those things. So where you're really connecting. And then you've got that next level. You want to get in front of people that are searching for your services. People that are typing in on Google search direct primary care or concierge or whatever it is. And so doing things actively to get in front of those people. That falls under the SEO category, simply put. And then that last category is going to be people that they would be great new members and patients for your practice if they knew about you. And so that's where there's a lot of things to do with that, but it's much more educational, top of the funnel, more social media opportunities with that as well.
And I think when we look at those audiences, one of the things that we really like to focus on is what are those channels and those verticals that you want to use to reach each of those unique audiences. Those 4 that Andrew just described, they're not going to all need the same messaging and content. So we need to make sure that we have kind of a variety of tactics to be able to reach them all where they're going to be interacting with your practice.
Yeah. And so our goal today is to give you real practical things, and we'll try to point out, what categories those would fit in, so that in 10 minutes a day, you can just nail your marketing, whether it's you doing it or training somebody on your team or even hiring somebody.
Well, I love that you brought up word of mouth and your patients as a primary category, because I think a lot of times practices forget, they're there. How do we keep them? And how do we create them as ambassadors of what we're doing in direct care? Because we know that 80% of our practices are growing through word of mouth referrals. And so I love that. And I'm excited to hear how you weave that into our content strategy for every day of the week. All right, so it's Monday. I'm starting my week. What should I be doing for 10 minutes every Monday?
On Monday, what we'd recommend is really resharing any relevant articles. So one thing that's important is thinking about thought leadership for your practice. So making yourself known, not only in the DPC space, but in your specialty area of your practice. So looking through any relevant articles, and, it doesn't have to be writing new articles, it's just sharing your point of view and perspective and sharing that with your audience across your social channels. And making sure your team is aware too. Sometimes we think too, your internal marketing as well with that thought leadership to the point of really that, testimonial and that really kind of communication style is spreading that awareness is really important. So Monday, we're going to say sharing. And again, that can be 1 article a week. Again, You can write out a few thoughts. You can share a quick video, share it on LinkedIn. Doesn't have to be the same each week.
Yeah, and really, so one, keep in mind, the articles that you're reading may not be the articles that your great potential new member would be interested in. So keep in mind, that content that you're sharing, you might be really interested in a very technical medical type document, but that's not necessarily going to be what's going to benefit, that ideal group. And then, like Leah said, video, any way that you are comfortable sharing it. But I know both of us would put a plug in for video. Video is hot right now. This is a great way to do real video on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. TikTok videos, you don't just have to dance. Now, I would love to see all of you dancing because that would just be fun for me. But really what you're going to do is share your perspective, like Leah said, about what's trending. What's trending in that world that they're going to be caring about. They're going to find that information somewhere, right? They're going to Google it. And the important thing is that they're getting that from you because that's setting you up as the thought leader and the authority on the go-to authority.
Want to point out too that a lot of times people are like, oh, what do I share, right? And it's like, what are you getting questions on in your patient portal? What's happening in the health initiatives like for the month? Like we know that February is Heart Health Month. So why aren't you talking about that? Because it's going to be everywhere else that your patients are, right? You're going to see it on the news. You'll probably hear it on the radio. If you even listen to the radio anymore, you'll probably see ads on your social media. And so a lot of times the world around you is directing you where to go. So just pay attention and like roll off the back of that. I have another question for you guys before we move on to Tuesday, because one of the things I hear or get some resistance back on is I'm a primary care doctor, right? A lot of folks in this space that are probably watching today are like, I treat everybody and everything. So I always talk about like how you get to niche down to like roll out. Like Oprah, started with her show and now she's got a book club and like a meditation app and like 5 million other things. And so she can serve broad. So just curious, like, how would you guide somebody who's like, well, where do I start knowing I serve big? Like, what do I focus on first?
Yeah. I think from my perspective, to your point, like you don't have to master everything in one day. I think taking, small steps to start building the content that you're putting out there about your practice on those channels is really the key. I think, again, it's, what are you most comfortable with? Is that writing? Is that a video? And playing to your strengths first is where I would say. Making sure that because that's going to come off more organic. It's going to be able to speak about like your passion of your practice. And that's going to really resonate with your patients more. So I don't think it's a one size fits all answer there. But I would say, like whatever that channel or that medium that you're really passionate about and you feel comfortable in first would be where I would say to start.
Yeah. And then as far as content, I know it can feel very daunting to, well, what do I talk about? What should I be sharing? What should I say in a video? And it's actually a lot simpler than you think. What are the frequently asked questions that you get and you find yourself answering every day? Right? So the mom comes in with a sick kid and you keep seeing this same sickness. That's a perfect example. I need to put out some content about whatever that is. It's flu season, it's allergy season, it's sunburn season, or whatever it is. So really, you can kind of let that guide you. So what are your members? What are they asking? What are people answering the phones? What do they keep having to answer? Create content on that, and really that can be a hinge point for even your SEO on blog articles that you would write or posts on Google.
Awesome. I love that you said that. That's what I tell people, but I am not the marketer. So I'm leaving it to you guys to validate that what I've been saying is actually on point. So thank you for that. And I love that you both brought up or have an affinity to video. And I would say, like, I hear Leah and what she's saying around, like, do what you feel comfortable with. And also don't get too comfortable being comfortable. Push yourself a little bit. Like, you'll get used to it after a while and show up because you've got so much to share with your community. Like, you got to stretch yourself just a little bit. All right. So 10 minutes Monday. We are doing resharing of articles, commenting on things, using the universe to like respond to, right? And so Tuesday, what should our focus be on?
Yeah, so Tuesday we want to focus on getting more testimonials and more reviews on your platforms. So we talk about getting in front of people that are already searching. One of the best ways that you can tell Google that, you know, we are a viable company and we're growing and we have information that's helpful to people is by getting those reviews on your Google listing. In order of priority from an SEO standpoint, Google would be the top one. Right. And then you've got, you know, Facebook reviews and recommendations. You've got Yelp after that. And then really it's kind of anything and adding testimonials to your site. A lot of people ask me, okay, what's the best way? Is there a program? Is there a way to automate it? And I say, yes, but in the end, the best way to get really good reviews is to just ask. And I always say, ask your super fans. Right? These are the people that are super ecstatic and they want to bring you cookies because they're so happy with the care that they're getting compared to what they used to be getting. That's the perfect time that any of your office staff need to be trained to be able to ask for that review. Say, Mrs. Smith, I'm so glad, you know, little Johnny's feeling better. I'm so glad you're feeling great and we were able to give you that service. Would you mind leaving us a review so we could help more people? So sometimes it kind of feels like, you know, practices and practitioners, they want to automate it to be able to remove themselves because it feels kind of dirty asking for a review, but it's not. You're offering an amazing service that's changing lives and they want to bring you cookies. You don't need cookies. You need a review. And that's fantastic. And the other thing I'll say about reviews is be very, very, very careful in setting up some kind of an incentive program to get reviews. Google will hate you for it. If you do it, you have to hide it. Don't have a landing page on your site that says, hey, we're going to give you free coffee if you give us a review. And in the end, the best review is going to be somebody that just wants to give it to you anyways. And so getting those consistently, making it a normal part of your conversation is important.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. And then kind of the second piece of that is responding to those reviews too. So after someone gives you that great 5-star review on Google, making sure that you or someone from your team does go and respond to those as well. It shows that it's more conversational instead of that transactional element like Andrew just mentioned. And it allows, you know, those superstar customers to really be able to, you know, share their story. So that's really kind of your biggest referral method, if you will, having that nice solid Google rating and being able to have those DPC stories attached to your practice. That's going to go a really long way. And just think about ways that not only like after a visit that you can ask for the reviews, but even like simple signage right at the counter at your office to be able to have a simple QR code linked to here. Like Andrew mentioned, being able to, you know, talk your team through coaching a patient to be able to leave that review. It's just those little things that really will come off as that personal touch and make it just more organic and natural to get those reviews.
And then I want to address the ugly elephant in the room. It's the 1-star review. Okay, you're going to get them. Don't take it personal. There's crazy people out there. The fear is people are going to see this 1-star review and just think I have a horrible company and a horrible practice. It's not true. The great thing is everybody knows there's crazy people out there. So, in fact, there's something to see a 4.9 star. If you've got a couple hundred reviews and you got a 4.9, that's almost a little more trustworthy than if you've got 1,000 5-star reviews. People are going to subconsciously think, okay, I don't know what's going on here. So don't be afraid of them and always respond to them. Now, this is not a place to argue. And in fact, you really shouldn't try to convince them on that response to change their review. That's not the point. You're responding, you want to be available, and you want to be professional. So you're going to say, oh, you know, we would really love to connect with you personally. Reach out to this person, first name, and then like your info at email. You look really personal. You don't get or you look very available, and you don't look argumentative. The technical side of that is it's going to improve your SEO. Google loves to see you responding to negative reviews. So just respond, don't argue. And really the goal isn't to try to change their mind. Obviously that would be a great outworking of that if that happened, but it's super rare. But people know there's crazy people out there. Just respond, be professional, be available, and it's good for your SEO.
I love
Awesome.
that point of view of taking it offline too, because then if there was truly a concern from the patient, that's going to be a way better conversation point than just a few sentences online to truly get to the root of the issue or see how you can help them as well to better the experience. Absolutely.
Yeah, the great point, Leah. I mean, one, it helps you guys with all your HIPAA as well, right? We don't want to be having medical conversations online. So be brief, move it offline. I love that. Andrew, your points around like accessibility and professional, like that's what you're selling in direct care. It's got to be shown every single place you're showing up. Otherwise it looks inconsistent. And to your point about crazy people, it's like, if you're not ticking somebody off, you're doing it wrong. You're
not trying hard enough.
You're not trying hard enough. You're either going to live your best life doing it or your worst life doing it. Somebody's going to be upset about it. It's all good. And like you said, and the 4 agreements would like also impress upon you, like, don't take it personal. Right. And so 2 other things I want to share around testimonials in our Thrive cohort that we do through Hint, where we're helping folks grow to 100 members. The last couple of groups had brought up this really cool Etsy sign. And so if you like look at testimonial signs on Etsy, they've got QR codes. You can just put it right up at the front desk. They can snap a picture on the takeout, and it's there for your front office staff to remember. And one of the things I love to share with the groups that I coach on getting referrals is I like to have something in the newsletter that just says, friends don't let friends have bad doctors. Make sure you tell yours, right? And so it gets to be fun and you get to be creative with this, right? It doesn't have to be hard. Asking for things feels really wonky when you're starting out, but make it fun and then it will like take away some of the pain for it. All right. Next up, Wednesday. What are we up to?
Wednesday, I think we're really wanting to focus on that community element, making sure that your community knows that your practice is not only there, but really spreading the awareness of the importance and the benefits of a DPC practice in the community. So that can be doing anything from, highlighting any like sponsorships or local events that your team might attend on behalf of the practice. And again, that can be really just looking at yourself as like, a resource to your community. So not usually like selling your practice, but if you're sponsoring an event or a little league team, like being able to reshare some photos and just really showing yourself as like a pillar of your community in really the importance that, you're connecting with your patients outside of the office when you're involved in your community. So really being able to highlight that. So sharing some images, sharing any community events that are going on, is really what we're kind of going to focus on for Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, that was fantastic. I would just say as you think about images that you're going to use on your website, on your blogs, on your social media, having local images, photos of you in the community, even stock photos of your city is going to really be much better. For example, if you're in Florida, you have a practice, I wouldn't put any mountain pictures on your website. Right? You want to connect. Hey, we're local. We're right down the street. And so having those images, and as you're thinking, and Leah could definitely speak to this on the social media side, you want people to see local areas rather than just a bunch of stock photos all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really makes a difference with bringing out your, tone and voice and speaking like your community and speaking like your patients do, right? We want to make sure that it's relevant to that audience that you're trying to serve, and then really thinking about those people that you're trying to be building awareness with. It's kind of like meeting those people who might not be aware of even what DPC is in the environment that they're engaging with and interacting with on a day-to-day.
Awesome. This brings me up to something that I wanted to mention in the articles too. But if you're saying like one is community and like showcasing the community and being involved, right? So I do a sponsorship. And then what I heard you say, Leah, which was brilliant because I didn't really think about it, is how do I go back and share that on my different verticals, right? Can you guys speak to, and the same thing with your articles, right? So if there's something in your local newspaper, like what's the best way to like leverage your social status by maybe tagging or hashtagging? Like, is there any tips there that you can kind of like weave into this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we're looking at some of the repurposing that content or creating content that has those community ties, it can be tapping into local thought leaders. So whether that's like local newspaper publications, maybe it is like a local personality, maybe it's like a local radio host or something like that. Being able to leverage those other community voices and being able to position your practice alongside of those is really going to go a long way. Again, I think it's really just showing that you're a part of the community and that your practice is there to better the health of the community. So anytime that we can have, that local engagement, I think that really, acts like a good testimonial or review, right? Like you're a pillar of the community. You want to see everyone be healthy in your community. So when I think about some of these like local elements, it's making sure that like your social accounts are following those local like news outlets and media personalities. And then you're continually engaging, because it is that two-way street that we always want to remember. We don't want to just be pushing content out there. We want to have that engagement.
One real practical way to be able to do that is, well, first of all, when it comes to social media, Facebook, we'll just say Facebook, even though, that's just kind of the general term for social media that I'm going to use. So Facebook has prioritized certain things because what it's trying to grow. So for example, you might post just an organic static post on your page and your profile, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. Not that that's bad, because a lot of people go to your website and then go check out your Facebook page. So you need those. But you want to tap into what is hot right now, what is trending, what are the social media platforms really pushing? And they're really pushing reels. They're pushing short form video, 15, 20 seconds. For example, if you made a reel, there's an effect on there called the green screen reel. So find that article, for example, find that article that we're talking about, take a screenshot of it, and then put that behind you on the green screen part, and you're talking about it. Right now, that's what's hot. That's what Facebook and TikTok are pushing really hard. And so you're going to reach more people just by kind of following what's trending in that. And I know Leah could really speak to a lot more of those things as far as what's hot in social media. And we could talk all day about that. So just reach out to Leah, and she can give you all the sweet tips.
I want to talk more about that if we've got some time in our best practices. For those of you that are just joining, if you've got any questions about marketing and how these guys can support you, like, now's the time, pick their brains. That's what they're here for. But before we wrap on community, I just want to talk about too, because we talked about like sponsorships and stuff. Some of our folks are like actually hosting events, right? So they're doing diabetes talks, or they're talking about heart health. Like, any tips there on how to promote the event, platforms they should be using, where they should be looking? Because I think like Meetup, Eventbrite, like, how do we tap into communities that already exist? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think those are all great resources that you just mentioned. And again, I think it's going to vary community by community. Again, I think it's always a combination of using some of those digital platforms, but also not forgetting about some of those grassroots tactics, right? Like posting flyers at your local coffee shops that people are going to. I think depending on your community, that print newspaper has, still has a space and a voice for the right audience, right? So I think when we're thinking about those events, even if it's something as simple as like, sponsoring a 5K heart walk or something like that, right? So being able to speak to what your practice is going to be able to bring to the event, but also have that community element and engagement. So when we're thinking about like an Eventbrite, right? So being able to share all the details on the page and then sharing that on your social channels and your network, and then making sure that like your team is resharing that to their networks, right? We kind of always think about using social to our advantage on like those layers. So not only is it the practices network, but then really using your team's network as well to really raise that awareness and spread it.
Yeah, another thing to do is to make connections with other somewhat like-minded businesses, or businesses that the people that you want to reach, that they're going to. So tapping into their following. So it's going to be a lot easier to have a conversation with a coffee shop owner and say, hey, I'm doing this event.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, something died. Did you guys die? All of a sudden my screen turned off.
No, we're here. We're here.
That freaked me out. I'm sure I had a very funny look on my face, if you could still see it. So tapping into somebody else's, their audience and their followers is going to be way easier than trying to build your own following. That you need to be doing that, but tapping into, so a coffee shop is going to have tons of followers, and it's easier to have that conversation with the owner. and build that relationship and say, hey, I'd love to promote you. Could you promote this? We're doing this event. And so kind of doing, again, some of those grassroots, like building relationships. It's easy to think that digital marketing is a crutch. And if I just pay Facebook, I don't have to do anything. And you could try that, but really in the end, you want to really have a holistic approach to your marketing and never underestimate the value of relationships. It is always the best way to grow your practice.
Amen to that. I think a lot of folks come to me, they're like, I don't know that social media thing, or I hate doing it. I'm like, you don't have to. Like, don't do it if you don't like it, because that's what the people will feel on the other end. And there's so many more ways to like leverage what you're doing. And one of the reasons I really love a community event is now you're one to many versus one to one to one to one to one, right? And at some point you can get burnt out really easily if that's the only strategy you have is going after the onesies, right? And so like Andrew mentioned, and even Leah alluded to, it's like, how do I go and get myself in front of the groups that already exist, right? And to the point of the coffee shop, go host your event at the coffee shop, right? They are already people going there.
Right. So
you might as well leverage where people already are. So thank you guys for that. Community networking and events is like one of my favorites things to do. It's how I grew my business. I didn't have a website till 3 years ago when Andrew built it for me. So, and I've been doing this for 15 years. And you don't need all of the things. You need connections and relationships, which is why I think this is probably one of the most powerful things that you all can do. All right. We're halfway through the week. We're on Thursday. What's my 10-minute solution?
Yeah, so doing a newsletter, just being able to connect, and this falls into, a lot of this falls into connecting with your current members or past members, or, somehow you have their lead, they're a warm lead. And so connecting with them, it's easy to think that a newsletter is a massive task, right? And we need to demystify that a little bit. And a newsletter doesn't have to be this massively long designed, and now, there's some simple ways to do that, but just kind of demystify that in your mind and think, okay, I just want to connect with people. I'm getting a lot of this question. I'm going to answer it in a paragraph or two. And then at the bottom, I'm going to say, hey, we'd love your referrals. And if we can help you, here, leave us some feedback. It doesn't have to be massive. And maybe you schedule that. So once a week, you're doing a small touch point newsletter. Maybe you're connecting them with the article that you talked about on Monday, right? Or sharing some events that you're doing. So you want to leverage what you're already using. And this is a great place to do that. And then maybe quarterly, you do a big, long, a huge newsletter or something.
I love that idea of looking back at, the content that you shared on your other channels. And using that in your newsletter. Like you said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You're going to reach different pieces of that audience through that newsletter. So curating that content that you already shared versus creating something new each time, keep it simple. And I look at it too, is your newsletter doesn't have to be the same each week. So if 1 week you want to share about those community events that you have and really kind of establish that community thought leadership, and then the next week it's more so, about a specific topic, switch it up. It doesn't have to be the same formula each time. And that'll give you really the opportunity to make it more true to kind of your organic voice and what you're interested in.
Yeah. And ask your followers, ask your members, what do you want to learn more about? Yeah. How can we help you the best? As a doctor, I've got information. What information do you, is going to be most helpful for you? And then, so that could even be something that you include at the bottom of every newsletter is, hey, do you have any questions? We'd love to answer them here. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. One of the things we do with the practices we work with is quarterly surveys, right? So what's hot in the patient's world? So that way we know like how to start to plan forward our content, because one of the things that we'll teach you in the accelerator is like, you get to work one day a month on this so that you're not having to do it like every day. And then that's what makes this 10-minute marketing manageable, right? And so that way you've got a plan or a strategy, and there's 100 million ways you can do this. You get to slice it up in the way that feels good for you at the end of the day. But I love that, your newsletter can shift, and you might be thinking like, why would I do this if I've already shared it on my social and I've done it on my TikTok, or I've put out a community event? Because and I want you to encourage you to think like not everybody digests information the same way, right? You're going to have a percentage of your patients on social. You're going to have a percentage of them in your newsletter and a percentage of them out in the community. And so it won't seem duplicative to people. It will actually just keep them informed of everything that's going on.
And back to the video thing, make a video. That could be your whole newsletter. I love myself on video. I'm very narcissistic, I guess that way. But if you're not, you need to, like Lauren said earlier, get comfortable on video. Take a lot of videos and delete them. Take videos and delete them until you're comfortable, because it's worth it, because people need you. They need you. And one of the best ways that you can get out there and compete with all the mass amount of information is to make high quality, good videos, especially in a day and age where we have ChatGPT, where written content's dime a dozen. Anybody can throw it in there, and it's good. It's good. That's a whole nother conversation when it comes to SEO. But make sure we have that conversation at some point. But so video, so even Google, YouTube, any of the platforms are going to prioritize real people making real content, and that will leverage that much more.
I love that. There's only one you. No ChatGPT can do that, right? So
it can get darn close, though. Let's be honest.
Not yet. Ooh. All right. Friday. Heck yes. We're at the end of the week. What's up for us on Friday?
Well, I think that was the perfect lead to Friday, talking about videos. So Friday, we're going to focus on featuring something from your practice. And the perfect way to do that is going to be a short-term video. So thinking about a way to either introduce yourself, someone on your team, talk about a topic. And really what we're talking about when we're saying video is like a quick 30-second clip. It doesn't have to be this long, overly produced video. Like you can use your cell phone, your laptop, record a quick video. And that's going to really resonate with someone versus it being this overly produced production. Again, it shows that you're human. It has that personal touch. So think about things that come up during your week. So I think that's why we think Friday is perfect for using that. What happened? Reflect back on your week and what you want to share with your patients before going into the weekend, and share that on your channels.
And just a couple practical things, like Leah said, so those short form videos, 15, 20 seconds, that's what social platforms are promoting right now. But you don't just have to use it there. You can repurpose that on your website, in your newsletter, like we talked about. We can get that on LinkedIn. We can use that on YouTube, all over the place. A couple practical things though. If you put it on YouTube, don't share that link on your Facebook page. You want to put those up organically to each of those platforms. Why? Facebook hates YouTube. They're direct competitors. So you put a YouTube link on your Facebook page, Facebook's going to be like, yeah, let's maybe don't show that to anybody. And Facebook is also very narcissistic and doesn't want anybody to leave. So if you have a link anywhere else, you want to be very strategic with that. Take your video with your phone vertical, right? Vertical is fantastic. Not that that's a game changer, but it is important. And then add some movement. People are scrolling very often. They don't have their sound on. What's going to connect them? If you're chopping vegetables, that's going to connect better than if you're sitting like this talking. If you do need to sit and talk, have a whiteboard and start drawing. That's going to connect with people. Writing words, man, people are super mesmerized by words that you're writing on a piece of paper. We've had good success with testimonials, and you break those up into, just write them on a piece of paper and show one of them and flip it and throw it off and show the next one. So adding movement, and like Leah said, don't overproduce this thing. You don't need to hire some video company. You do occasionally, but not maybe for your website or a TV commercial. But for these, you want these to be very authentic. You want to be very real, because that's what's going to connect with people. So give them something that's going to be mesmerizing. Take a walk outside and just talk. That's a great way to do that. But then you also want to give them information that's going to set you up as the authority.
And one other tactical thing to note too is now all the platforms do have the ability to add captions to your videos. So in this day and age where people are, scrolling through a lot of content, maybe someone's on the go. And don't always have their volume up. So those captions are a really good tool to still get your message across. So just another note there.
I love that too. My only note on that would be when you're talking to the camera, make sure I'm looking at you. Don't look at me from down your nose. Nobody wants to see up there. I promise you. It's very snooty. So make sure you're positioned right, because this is how you connect with people. You let them see your eyes and your face and get your essence. And so just be conscious of how you're actually in position with yourself as you do that there.
And get a cheap tripod with a phone holder on it. It's super cheap. If you can, get a gimbal. A gimbal holds it steady while you walk around, but phones are doing that pretty well now too. So if you don't have anything else, get you a cheap $15 tripod that's going to hold your phone either horizontal or vertical, and then maybe even a microphone if you wanted to get really trendy.
First, I'm going to say your stretch for this week, make a video. 15 seconds. That's what it is, right?
There you go. Yeah.
That's all. Let's start there. And
right.
And watch, you'll have fun. People will engage. Like, I remember when I first started doing video, I'd put it up and then I'd shy away from my social media for like 4 days because I didn't want to see the feedback. And it's like, it's only feedback. It's not criticism. It's only going to help you get better. And you want people to engage with it. So, which brings me to a point. One of the things that we didn't touch on at all when we're looking at this week is call to actions, next steps. How often should I be doing this? Because so often I hear from our practitioners, like, I'm doing all this marketing and it's not working. And I remember very clearly one of the first calls I had with the practice was, we do these YouTube videos. Nobody's liking or subscribing. I'm like, dude, I watched 10 of your videos. You not once said like or subscribe.
Right.
Right. And it's like, well, how do we lead people? They don't come into your office and you give them a care and leave and they go create their own care plan. You give them a care plan. Yeah. So tell me, like, from your perspective, how often should I be asking them to do something and what kind of things would I be asking them to do? Yeah,
that's really good. So as you think about it, you want to call it, people need to know exactly what to do if they're convinced or if they're interested. Like, take your website, for example. You need one call to action button that is highlighted, that's green, that's flashing, that's moving, and you reuse the snot out of it. It should be the only button that looks like that, because what do you want them to do when they come to your site? They're looking around. Maybe you do a discovery call. You want it to say discovery call, discovery call, discovery call, discovery call, because you never want people to be confused. Okay, this all looks great, but what do you want me to do? And I look at hundreds of websites and I see it all over the place where there's a learn more and there's an about us. And it's not that it's bad to link, but that all looks like that's what you're wanting them to do. So that main call to action needs to be big, flashy, repeat the snot out of it. Now, when it comes to social media, you want to be careful that it doesn't sound salesy, because the focus needs to be value and building authority, because what? Focus on what's going to help them the most. Okay, they're going to get this value. They're going to start to trust you. They're going to learn, but you still need to, you know what? If this has helped you, like and subscribe, right? If you're interested in learning more, hit that button down below, learn more. So tell them what you want them to do.
And I think when we're looking at social specifically, how those platforms and those profiles are built out with their native functionality, as far as those buttons on there to call, email you, where you can put a link to your website, everyone expects those. And so the same on, no matter what company you are, those buttons are the same across Instagram or YouTube. So making sure that your profile is complete is a really big part of being consistent with what we're asking people to do when they're engaging with us.
Awesome. I recommend, like, from a practice perspective, like every so often, ideally quarterly, you're going through your onboarding process. You're testing it out. Like, how often would you guys say we should kind of check back to any of these platforms, but in particular social, to make sure like things are up to date?
Yeah, I always think I love that quarterly stamp, and things are going to change, right? That's just the nature of the game as all those platforms update their algorithms and things like that. So putting that perspective on from a new patient and going through, clicking all those buttons, making sure that your forms are going to the right person, that the phone is ringing to the right place, kind of put that secret shopping hat on, if you will.
Love that.
As far as your website, I would do it more often than quarterly. Websites are constantly updating, or should be updating, and anytime, especially if if there's plugins, things just happen and you have no idea how it happened. This was working yesterday and now it's not working today. So make sure, I would say monthly, even if you just hired a VA, somewhere around the world to go in and just look at every page, click every button, test every form, just to make sure that the goal is that you find those problems before somebody else does. It's not going to be foolproof because, like I said, it could be yesterday, but once a month, somebody checking through everything on the website and then also checking it on mobile. So I would actually say check it on mobile first. That would be the priority because the majority of people are going to your website on their phones.
Yep. Awesome. So before we wrap, because we've got a couple minutes left, just want to ask the audience again, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to throw those in the chat. We've got a team monitoring them. We want to make sure that we're answering what you guys are up against, right? If you're struggling and like getting the word out there, getting people to learn more about your practice, like a lot of you are like, forging the path for direct care in your communities, and you're like, have this huge education hurdle to overcome, like ask these guys while they're here and they're available for you. And then in the meantime, I want to talk one more thing about kind of like social, and I'm going to just like wrap the Google business world in there, right? Because I think it's one of the things we probably said it and forget it. Tell me a little bit about like recommendations for that. Should I be posting in there? That type of thing. How are people using it right now? And how can it help support these folks in practice?
Absolutely. So that falls under the SEO category. So search engine optimization. So working to get in front of people that are searching. As we all know, if you're looking for, hamburgers near me, you're going to see the 3 Google listings. That's called the Maps pack or the local pack. And then obviously you have, website organic rankings under there. Statistically, more people are going to click on one of those 3 Google listings than they even are that number 1 spot of the website. So Google is obsessed with local business right now. If you type in hamburgers and just hamburgers, it's going to show you hamburgers near me because the intent is I'm looking for something local. One of the best ways to tap into local SEO and to get in front of more people that are searching is on that Google listing, and you can actually make posts on your Google listing. I call this the secret sauce, and it's very, very rare that I see anybody tapping into this. So just this regular posting, for example, if you posted once a week, this is a perfect 10-minute activity. Just a quick post. It doesn't even have to be as cool and engaging as a Facebook post, but it is a great way to, write one post and use it everywhere. And so you want to just write about a symptom that people are struggling with, or a condition that you help treat, or a service that you offer. Just write a paragraph or 2 about that. Add your address on there. Because with SEO, our goal is to tell Google what you do and where you do it. And so these local updates, these local posts on your Google listing, statistically, you're going to reach more people with 1 post a week than you are 5 posts a week on your Facebook page. And that has nothing to do with the content. That has everything to do with Facebook couldn't care less about your posts, right? Unless people are sharing, unless there's engagement. And it is important to do that. But Google really cares about getting the right information in front of the right people. So making those a priority. And again, this is a great way to leverage content that you're probably already doing. Or, maybe you just hate Facebook. Well, okay, if you're going to do one thing, do a weekly Google update post. And it's important to put in there something that people would be searching. So I see a lot of times people are doing reviews, which is great, or they have an event, which is also great. But you want to really go after some of those keywords that people would be typing in.
And I love the thought, like you said, think about Google just like it's a Facebook or Instagram. Think about it as one of those core channels that you need to be engaging with. And the great thing about Google leaning so much into that local element is that's a great spot to, again, highlight those local images, highlight your local team, and attach that with that business listing so people start seeing that imagery associated with your brand name too.
And yeah, and one other kind of technical, sneaky way to tell Google where you help people is take those photos around your office, around your city with your phone with location services turned on. Most of us always have it on there, right? So take, for example, say you're in Maui and somebody takes your picture and you look fantastic, right? You're actually relaxed for once in your whole life. You're tan. And so you're like, you know what? I'm going to use this all over the place. I'm going to put this on my website. I'm going to put this on my Google listing, my social pages. Well, probably somebody took that with their phone. Probably location services were turned on. So that photo is stamped with the latitude and longitude of that beautiful beach in Maui. If you use it on your Google listing, Google sees that, you know, the back end code of your photo, and there's a little bit of a disconnect, right? There's a little conflict where Google's saying, well, you know, do they actually help people here in Pennsylvania, or is it Maui? Right. So what we want to do, and it's okay, you can use the photo because you look great. You just need to re-tag, geotag that with the proper latitude and longitude. Just take your office and you can stamp that. There's free platforms. Just Google it, geotag image, and there's free platforms you can use for that. Easiest way to do it is just take photos around your office with your phone and use those on your Google listing.
I have one more question about Google Business before I ask you guys how folks can reach you. But for the folks that are just starting, maybe they don't have a brick and mortar, maybe they're shopping for it, maybe they're doing mobile services. What would you recommend from a location perspective if I don't have a physical address when it comes to Google?
So 100% get a Google listing. You have to have a real address to get the postcard to verify it, but you don't have to show that address. So you have the option of hiding the address and showing an area that you serve. This is there, you know, some people do national, some people do just their city. Yeah. And so that's a great way to do that. Make sure you do that. You can use your home address. Nobody's going to see it. And that's the fear. If I use my home address, are people going to show up? No, it's hidden. Just Google is obsessed with making sure real people are setting up real businesses and business listings. So you can't use a PO box. You can't use a mail service. It has to be a live address. You could pick somebody, you know, that lives there, somebody in your office, and you could use that. They mail you a postcard, you get the code, you set it up. And that way you still you tap into that. Even if you reach, you know, work with people in the whole state. Google prioritizes that local. So you want to definitely be focused on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I learned a lot today, as always. If I can ask Lisa, how can people connect with you and Mountain Wave?
Yeah, so you can go to our website. It's mountainswave.com. There's a form right there. And also connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'd love to chat with you about your practices and how we can support some marketing initiatives.
Awesome. And I don't know if I just said Lisa out of my mouth, but I totally meant to say Leah. It was like a slip of your first and last name. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. And then Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, definitely go to our website, directprimarycaremarketing.co. It's not .com, it's .co. So directprimarycaremarketing.co. I'd love to reach out. My contact information is on there. You can text me, you can email me, you can give me a call. We've got some opportunities. You can schedule a call. Any questions that you have, you can obviously reach out to us on our social platforms as well.
And then he'll probably send you a video, because if you haven't heard already, that's what he likes to do.
All
right. And other ways direct primary care practices can work with Hint to develop their business strategy, marketing plan, sales tactic. I run a DPC accelerator. It happens every Thursday. We also have a cohort where we help you reach 100 members faster. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Hint. My email is lauren@hint.com. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Leah. Thank you to the marketing team who helped put this all together. And for all of you who are watching, I hope you found value. Don't forget, Mondays, we are sharing articles. Tuesdays, you are focusing on testimonials, although it should be all of the time that you're doing that. Wednesday, we're talking about community events. Thursdays, newsletters. Feature Fridays, 10 minutes a day. Show up for yourself, show up for your practice, show up for your community, and let's make some healing happen out there in the world. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Have a good one.